Hello, I'm Tan BOTC channel, and hopefully there's not too much mic popping because I've had people tell me I'm talking too quiet, and then other times where I've checked the videos and there's like poppage because I'm trying to get closer and loud for those people, and then it's like it creates a whole new problem. So hopefully you can hear me fine, that things aren't too freaking annoying, but I've started to kind of hate this camera, honestly, and might want to do something about it in the future. But at topic at hand, sorry for the stutter there, or whatever happened there. But I wanted to send this message to Frostbreak and anybody else that doesn't believe there's story in the Souls games. And I will say that at the start, I also didn't know how to set this all up. But at this, when you play those games initially, at least Demon Souls and Dark Souls, each Souls game does initially, you start to see more of like there's an actual story there. But it can feel like it's more experimental, or like they didn't find their full footing yet for a story. That wasn't where their big focus was. But where I think the story truly shines, and it shows another thing that I actually messaged on his Dark Souls video. It's almost at 15K, so he might do another video. But what I saw was at in Orlando is when I noticed there's definitely a story and one that's hidden. That is the perfect example for why the story is set up the way it is. There's a character called Gwendolyn there that is kind of hard to find. You have to go to a certain bonfire by moving the staircase, and then go to the very bottom, and then you have to hit an invisible wall to meet him. And sometimes you can accidentally like enter his boss room and start a fight even. And then but he can tell you all sorts of things. And he is actually, if you kill him or Guinevere, which you find out is not real, uh, he's creating an illusion of not only the sunlight, some of the creatures there in the castle, but also some of the characters even. And that let me know for sure there's some sort of story going on there for like if somebody's trying to cast an illusion to like try and make the kingdom look like it's in still beautiful and good order, nothing's wrong at all whatsoever, but it's much more hollow and empty, ironically. Besides item descriptions and stuff, there's also the fact that characters later on, like Solaire, for example, will be at other bonfires that you visit, as well as Siegmeyer, though Siegmeyer is not always easy to catch where he's going to be. And you can talk to them to further their stories, as well as other characters that might get involved, as well as re-talk to characters and what happens to them, like the Crestfallen guy at Firelink Shrine. He will eventually go hollow and try to attack you in a certain area. New Londo, I should say. But yeah, I definitely think there's story going on. Demon Souls is a little less obvious because that game does immediately throw you in. It's not until you talk to the Monumental that it gives you that just setup thing of the characters and the universe, the world, and all that. Similar to Dark Souls opening. I like the way it tells its story. It tells me that it's an incomplete puzzle, especially when I was talking about the In Orlando thing, since it's something hard to find, which is telling me the incomplete puzzle part, and then the fact that it exists there and it shows that there is something going on tells me that there's a story. But I wouldn't say that always the story is the strongest thing, but I love the story or lore of the Dark Souls, and it's very unique compared to other games. Very unique because so many games, especially nowadays, have to shove cutscenes down your throat. I was playing Red Dead 2 the other day, and I still love that game, but goddamn, like when I was playing the intro, it's like every freaking other second There's more cutscene than there is gameplay almost. I still love that game. I still stand by that game. I love those games so much. Um, but Dark Souls is just such a unique case, and it's trying to harken back to like older games. Like the beginning, a lot of people didn't even know to go the direction that you would usually go in Firelink Shrine. Some people have gone down to the catacombs area or even down to New Londo sometimes thinking, am I supposed to be here? And the game rightfully beats your ass and tells you no. But yeah, I think if it's more of a visual, like figure it out yourself, put the pieces together. I mean, that's how someone like Vadi Vidya created a lot of his videos on his channel because he was doing that exact thing. Even he had to do it. And he was a lot smarter than a lot of us when it comes to constructing the stories and the lore and trying to figure it all out. And I truly think that like with Elden Ring, especially Elden Ring's really shown us that there's certainly a story there, that these games can certainly appeal to more players. I always hated the like every time a journalist has to be like, "Oh, make it easy, give it an easy mode." If Hidetaka Miyazaki hasn't done it since Demon Souls, and he hasn't done it now, he's not freaking going to do it ever. He wanted to make a hard game. He wanted to harken back to older games, and that's kind of what told me with like the almost Morrowind figure it out yourself at the beginning kind of thing. Figure it out yourself. Even like the tutorial is like, here's a couple of notes. Figure it out yourself, bitch. I love that about it. It's so unique from every other game that has to be straightforward, in your face with the story. And I found it ironic. I was rewatching with my friends your Dark Souls video, and I found it ironic. Some of the things, like I remember you were taught by your friends to take off pieces of armor if you're fat rolling, and then later when you put on armor for the Capra Demon, you just keep that armor on throughout every other fight, even though the main reason you used it was for the Capra Demon, but it doesn't work as well in other battles. So you need that rolling. You need those invincibility frames. I love that you just keep that armor on. I can't blame you though, but because maybe you weren't really thinking about that or it slipped your mind. Um, there's a bunch of things to go into, just too much to even like fill for this video. Because like I could have mentioned the guy at the bottom of the ladders of the first bell you rang that sells purging stones. He's very easy to miss, and I remember the last thing is I think your friends did help you out with this, but when you were cursed last that I know. I'm trying to think of some other things that happened in the video. I hate the RPG take that you had. You kept calling it an RPG, and then you said, I don't see the RPG thing, and then I can't remember what it was, but I remember you getting frustrated trying to continue, and you had, like, souls and stuff that you could have used to make yourself powerful, and then you did level up eventually. But an RPG, and I hate this about, like, people's perceptions of RPGs nowadays is just, like, dialogue options and dialogue itself, story and such, because I'm getting that vibe from your video, and it was ironically the opposite when you were playing The Witcher 3, because you were like, okay, well, I don't know if I see this quite as strong an RPG when you got like The Witcher, when you got a specific role as Geralt, you're given the role and a character, and you have to play that specific role pretty much through most of the game and that character. So how's it making an RPG? And now you're having the opposite look on the Dark Souls games where you're like, I don't see how this is an RPG. There's no story or dialogue options. And it's like, bro, what did Actman say in his Diablo 4 video when he freaking was retorting to a message that says Diablo's not an RPG? he said, gee, I wonder what role I should play in this game. And you picked a knight. You can build yourself, you can level up, put your levels into stats. That's a role, that stuff right there, as well as what role you decided to choose to play, mage, knight, warrior, whatever the frick. That is a role. That is what makes a role-playing game probably even more than freaking dialogue options. Dialogue options are just an extra thing, and I do appreciate it if a game has both and a strong amount of them. For example, Baldur's Gate 3 or Fallout New Vegas and such. Like, I can appreciate that stuff. Skyrim. Yeah, Skyrim. Even though Skyrim is weaker on the choice side of things, it's definitely stronger on the role-playing side of things. And I feel like, ironically, when you got in that situation, calling it a role-playing game, you forgot that for that little bit. So, I hate that. Like, people's perception of role-playing games has changed over time, and they think it is about the story or about the dialogue options. That's a part of it, but it is not the strongest part. Role-playing game is a role. I mean, Dungeons and Dragons, bruh. Dungeons and freaking Dragons in general. You pick a role, you create that role, and then you proceed with how that role is built over time. Or you die. But yeah, I also hate that. I should make a solo video on that, honestly. But I think that's about everything I wanted to talk about with that. I hope you enjoyed the game nonetheless. I love watching people play it for the first time and freaking die over and over again. It's fun and funny. It's just really exciting. I wish I could replay Dark Souls for the first time again, but I've played the game too goddamn many times to frickin' say that I could do that. I wish I could do the thing Dave Control did and have somebody club me over the back of the head, get amnesia, and then replay it for the first time. But anyways, you have an awesome day. I hope you enjoyed or found something interesting. By the way, I don't know if I showed the frickin' the art book is down here. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed nonetheless, and I will see you next time. I didn't know how to set up this background, honestly, either. Also, these comics, as well as these two at least, have, like, the other comics on the back of them. So in case you're wondering where the complete comics are, there they are. I might be getting more Souls-related stuff in the future, but for now, these are the ones I have. The only ones that I have, I think. If I am missing something, I don't know where the frick it is. But anyways, you have other than the other games, you have an awesome day.
That's about it. See ya.
Tell Jimmy's mom I said hi. I don't know why I do this every video.